welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analysing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. Haha, but not today. Today, I'm very happy to introduce Elizabeth Rose. Elizabeth is an author, a trance channel, an energy healer, and a hypnotist. That's not even the full list. She has another kind of scary skill that I will talk about later in the show. So you'll have to keep listening to find out what that is. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Michael. Wonderful to be here.
Well, frankly, I'm very surprised I've not had you on the show before, because I can nearly say that anybody who has worked with me in the last 5 years knows you. But I've wanted to interview you for some time to introduce you to the world. Yes, the world listens to my show. Actually, there are two types of people in the world: those who listen to my show and those who need to listen to my show. Write that down. But I also wanted to do an episode that shows how a person's life can so dramatically change based on having their dreams interpreted, and change for the better. And in your case, it all started with one dream. So this is going to be, I suppose, biographical and so on. But you tell it so well. Could you set up the background? Like you were an institutional investment manager. What got you into dream interpretation?
Okay, yes. I worked with pension funds and foundations and endowments and had a very serious corporate career. And one morning I was awakened by a booming voice. And I woke up. I didn't see anyone in my room. And then suddenly the voice spoke again. And it guided me to find you on the internet. Now, I had this very disturbing dream, and I had 7 dream books, and none of them answered my questions about the dreams. And so this booming voice guided me to find you. And so there you were. At the time, you were in Ireland, and I sent you a paragraph describing the dream, and you responded, and I was really surprised by what it said, but basically it said that my personality, it described it in detail. It said that your interpretation said that my relationship would come to an end, that I was attacked in childhood and I had to go back in time to heal that, and that I would enter into a deep depression. Now, I had lived through anxiety and depression as a child, and I thought, that's not going to happen. None of that's going to happen. Well, it all came true.
Well, yeah, I'm full of good news like that. You're woken up by a booming voice and there's nobody in the room. That's part one. Good. I haven't been broken into. And then you hear it again. I'd still have to change the bed sheets.
It was such a strong, booming voice. I didn't think twice. The second time, I just jumped out of bed and I started Googling for the message that it gave me.
And it said, find Joseph. And so you found
Joseph. It said
dream
Joseph
interpretation.
Joseph is coming. Joseph is coming. And then here I am digging through the internet trying to find who is Joseph. And the only one that pops up is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and Joseph of Egypt. And I hadn't seen that play. So then I realized it's the same Joseph. And then I found you right after that. I looked up Dream Interpreter, and bang, there you were on my screen. And so that's how I found you. It was what I didn't realize at the time was that was my first experience channeling.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. A lot of people who are channels that I tell are channels, I rarely say, and you're already channeling. There's no way you're a channel and you don't already channel. That just can't happen. It'd be like a human that doesn't breathe oxygen, But people don't realize it. It needs to be pointed out to them. Anyway, you know this as well as anybody because you're working with me on my current course where we're teaching people how to channel. But anyway, that's a different thing. So you got told these things about you, your personality, which you probably didn't really agree with. And then these things, this abuse that happened in childhood that you had no memory of. And that's very common for people. They have no memory of these things. And so they think it didn't happen. Well, a lot of people, they have an idea, okay, something could have happened because I have a feeling, but I don't have a memory about anything. But what happened from there?
Well, I had no memory of it. And so how do you go back in time? The only thing I could think of that might surface a repressed memory was hypnosis. And so I Googled and I found a hypnotist in Toronto. I was living in Toronto at the time. And I signed up for a few sessions, but nothing really surfaced. It wasn't until years later that I became a hypnotist, and I was taking classes, one class after another, and finally I was taking the master's in clinical hypnosis, and then I was auditing the course, and a student guided me into trance. Now, she had asked me, what do you want to work on? And I said, well, I used to be quite anxious and depressed as a child, but of course that's all healed now. But if you want to work on something, you can work on that.
Yeah, you tempted the fates right there.
She says to me, I'm in a very, very deep state of trance, and she says, now go to the origin of your anxiety. And wham, I was being attacked. I was 4 years old, and it was traumatic. It was a babysitter that, it was sexual assault by a babysitter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you can't leave us hanging there, because you said that immediately put you into depression, and you started researching. What was it? You went to a Starbucks? What would you be going to a Starbucks for?
Well, we usually after a hypnosis class, you have an opportunity to debrief, but it was a Sunday night. It was the last class, the last practice session in that class, and it was basically, okay, everybody have a great weekend, or have a great night. I'll see you next week. And so I didn't know what to do. I just discovered that I'd been assaulted as a 4-year-old. What do you do with that? So I went to Starbucks, and I sat with my computer in Starbucks, Googling again, trying to figure out, what do you do if you are an adult who was sexually assaulted as a child? I didn't find anything. And I was walking home that night, and I was in Toronto, and I was walking along Bloor Street, and I turned right on Margaretta Street, and which is where I was living at the time, and I was about to cross. It was now 10 o'clock at night. It was dark, and this car came around the corner particularly fast, and the headlights illuminated the whole street. And in that moment, I wanted to jump in front of the car and die. And then it hit me. That's where that feeling had come. My whole life I had felt this desire to kill myself, and I never understood. But it had come from that experience as a child, which had been in my subconscious mind for decades. And your dream interpretation had told me it had to be healed. I had to go back and heal it. So that was the healing. After that, I was fine. I was never depressed again.
Yeah, that's excellent. And what I love about that story is how you go from the worst point, like feeling like life isn't worth living, to immediately it's done, it's dealt with. And healing can be that instantaneous. Of course, you did a lot of work on yourself in the meantime. I have to just say, I told you a few things. Were you still married at this time?
No. The dream had said that my relationship would end, and indeed it did end. And so I was alone living in Toronto at that time. So yes, again, the prophecy. And right when I was still in the relationship, I'd had that dream. It had said that I would find myself in a deep depression, and it happened 2 weeks later. I actually won a big account, a $1 billion account, and found myself, oddly enough, in the depths of despair. And that was a warning sign, because my dear significant other wasn't able to suggest or provide any support. He just said, go find a psychiatrist or something. I can't help you.
So that's why you listened to the dream and you went after the hypnosis, because you got the depression within 2 weeks, and you had asked your partner at the time. You said, here's what this guy says about my personality. And he said, yeah, that's true. And you're like, that can't be right. And so there was two things that hit home. And that's why you went on the search to say, okay, did something happen, and I need to find out what it is, and I need to find hypnosis. Now, little did you know at the time that you were going to become a hypnotist, and then learn how to teach hypnosis, get a master's in clinical hypnosis and teach it. So it's like they held the healing off till the last minute, because then you probably would have stopped. But it really set you up for so many other things that then happened later in your life. And you went from there, and I know we've skipped some things, but you went from there into energy healing. Again, a connection that was made through hypnosis.
Yeah. Well, while I was studying hypnosis, metaphysical hypnosis, masters, pain management, one day we received energy healing, and it was a metaphysical thing. I received the energy during this class and was able to transmit it to someone else. And the demonstration was fascinating because the person who was demonstrated on had bite marks appear on her shoulder. And it was basically the laying on of hands that Jesus taught hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. And she had strangulation marks around her neck. So when I witnessed that, then I decided, okay, this is real. This is amazing. And so I started running with it. I started doing hands-on healing in the streets. I actually went to various churches, but they weren't interested. So instead I started healing the homeless in the streets, which was a phenomenal experience because bones were mended and migraines disappeared. So I was focused on that for about 2 years, but at the same time I was doing hypnosis combined with energy healing.
Can I ask you, were you a Buddhist at the time?
Yes, I was.
So that's probably why you weren't allowed in the churches. They Googled you.
Yeah, they took one look at me and said, no. Yeah, I studied Buddhism for 7 years, and I did a lot of the daily meditations. With Tibetan Buddhist meditation, you practice meditating, and it's like 111,000 meditations to get rid of a certain negative emotion. So I was doing prostrations.
Okay, hang on. 111,000 meditations? Is
yes.
that what you said? So,
yes.
Okay, so I know how that works. You start off on meditation 1, and by the time you get to probably about 60,000, you're dead. So the problem's gone. Yeah, that's a good trick. You didn't see through that.
Automatically ascend. It's just like amazing. Yes.
Because you've grown old. You've grown old in the meantime. So, I point out that you're a Buddhist because you mentioned the laying on of hands like Jesus did. So it wasn't that you grew up all Christian and religious. In fact, you didn't. And it was. But that becomes part of your life. How does that become part of your life? So you do the energy healing, you find out about it in this class, and true to your form, you go, well, I have money for rent that I can use for something else. I'll pay for courses, and I'll go and learn how to do energy healing.
I paid tens of thousands of dollars for so many hypnosis, healing, astral traveling courses. I have taken so many classes. I have tons of certificates and certifications.
Excellent. Well, then I have a class to sell you after we finish recording this show.
Yeah, I'm a class. What do you call it? A junkie. Yeah, course junkie.
So you learned how to do energy healing, and you were doing all this work on people, but then you started getting information for clients do you go into trance when you're working on clients in hypnosis? I mean, this is in the past, right? But do you go into trance as well, or is it just them in trance?
No. When you learn hypnosis, you're not going into trance. The client is going into a hypnotic state. So hypnosis is meditation with a purpose, and it's all trance, it's all meditation, and it's all hypnosis. So the client goes into trance, and the hypnotist stays out of trance. But all that changed for me when I went to this conference, a hypnosis conference, and I was talking. Well, I studied working in ultra deep hypnotic states. That was the class I was taking, and at lunchtime I had a 15-minute session with a deep trance channel. So this woman went into trance and told me that I was a very powerful trance channel, and I argued with her. I said, no, I'm just a hypnotist. She goes, no, you're right alongside some of the big names. And I said, nope, I'm just a hypnotist. And then I went back to my class in working in ultra deep states, and as I was practicing, it was on the last day, my head was turned all by itself, and I could see gold light. And then much later, I was with a friend that night, and I put her into trance. I basically facilitated this ultra deep hypnosis protocol while she was doing dishes, and so her arms were stuck out. She was standing on one foot. She said, "Am I deep in trance?" And I said, "Yes, you're very deep in trance." And I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm a channel." She says, "Great, I have questions." So then now she knew how to do this protocol, so she turned it around and took me into trance. And while I was deep in trance, my head started moving again, and my head started moving up. And as it was moving up, she was asking questions. And this authoritative voice was answering, "You will do this. You will do that." And then my head turned to the right. And it kept turning to the right. And I saw the gold light. And she's asking more questions. And these voices are saying, "We this and we that." And I said, "Who's we?" And suddenly I saw 9 angels stacked up in rows of 4, 3, and 2. And I described this to my friend. She said, "Oh, it's a choir of angels." So that was how I became a deep trance channel.
And, but you can put yourself into trance. You didn't need your friend anymore to do it for you.
Oh, no. I go into trance because I'm a hypnotist.
Well, I will say this. You can't answer this. I will say this. You say, "Hi, Elizabeth," and she goes, "Oh, hi, Mike. Oh, wait, I'm getting a message for you," and she switches into trance. That's how easily Elizabeth goes into trance.
Yes.
But that's because of all the work. One thing that you, this really, your life changed so much, and I had worked on some of your dreams at various different points. Your interest in dream interpretation stayed, and that's how we stayed in contact and so on over the years. And I got very interested in your channeling work when that started, and we were wondering where it was going to take you. But I think that's very interesting is I meet people and I say from their dreams, "You're a channel, or you're a healer, or you're a writer," or whatever it is, and they go, "Oh, I was told that years ago." And your dreams aren't going to change. They're still going to tell you this is your issue, or this is your gift, until you do something with it. And when you do something with it and work that gift, then they will say, "Now, here's also what you are," because you can add this to whatever it is. And I'd say one of the constants about you is your enthusiasm for anything in the spiritual field, which is also evidenced by how much money you spend on things, and people get the benefit of that. But you really pushed yourself, and so your dreams changed, and they kept matching what you were being told by other channels and so on, that greater gifts were coming. And they did. They always came, which was always pretty amazing to see that. And anyway, you became the Trance Channel, and these angels said, "We're going to take you on a journey. We're going to help you heal." Do you want to share that bit?
Yeah. So after the conference, I got back home to my little cottage in New Brunswick, and all 39 angels appeared, and they said, "Elizabeth, you can only heal others to the level at which you yourself are healed. We're going to heal you so you can heal all." And then for the next 6 months, I was trance lady, like you said. I would get up in the morning. They told me what to eat, how to eat, what to do. They put me through, hours and hours and hours of yoga. No meat, no caffeine, no sugar, no alcohol. Past life regressions, they facilitated them directly. Life between lifetimes, and so many energy transmissions. It was boot camp. It was angel boot camp, but they called it full immersion into spirit. So
then you started running this course, Full Immersion into Spirit, and you would take clients and you would do to them what the angels did to you, because you thought, well, if I had to go through all this karma, then you're going to do it. No, I'm joking. You knew that this is how to heal somebody, bringing them back, a mix of healing energy on them, letting them see past lives, revisit things in this life, and then working on healing those over and over. And I can I can give an endorsement for this program, because when you started doing this, I think pretty soon after you started doing it, I said, hey, I want to do this. And I traveled up to New Brunswick and stayed with you for like 4 days to do the full immersion course, because it's morning till evening. She will make you do yoga. She will not let you drink sodas. She is cruel. And, but
Not me, it's the angels.
yeah. Oh, the angels. It's the angels. But the other thing is, you told me not to drink sodas for like 3 months beforehand, and so there was a few other things I did, and I have to say it was absolutely mind blowing, very, very transformative, and I've done a lot of things. So a good few of my friends, in fact, have done this course based on how well they saw it working for me. But I'm looking at the clock, and we're really burning up at the time. So let's continue on. The angels put you through all that. You developed the full immersion into spirit. And then I started using you. Yeah, I started using you in my courses. I said this earlier. So in the last 5 years, anybody that does my courses, my signature course, that is, I include a session with you on it, because you do the trance channeling and the healing and so on. And it dovetails so well into the work I do. And I find it interesting. We've never had to have a case where I say, hey, I'm sending you this person, here's their issues that I see in their dreams. You get it all the same way, and it all matches really well. So now we use it as like a belt and braces. If you say something that I missed, or I say something you missed, it's like, okay, it's good not to talk to each other about it. And I just find that remarkable too. Also, what's interesting is if I'm doing cutting the ties with somebody, helping them with that process, normally I can't have anybody work on them. But the work you do, and also Ann Tucker as well, you guys can still work with people when they're doing other light workers' work, which is amazing, and an endorsement from the angels, I suppose, is what you would say. Again, I'm looking at the clock. So it's quite a switch, though, from your previous job. That's the point of this show. It's such a switch. You now help people repair their soul. That's what you do. Whether it's one of your channeled readings, and you do channeled readings like 30, 60 and 90-minute readings, and you do this full immersion thing, which is a day long or several days long, as it was in my case. The other thing that I wanted to bring up that I said was kind of scary is you also remove entities from people. Well, no, I don't want you to tell the story of how you got into that, because people would be horrified. But it's something that I see in people's dreams every so often. I'll see, oh, this person has an entity. And entities aren't necessarily a bad, like, evil thing. It can be a negative emotion. It can be, whatever. Maybe you'll describe this and describe why you do it. I know it has to be part of full immersion. But the look on your face tells me like I've dropped you in it here. Which is great.
Yeah. So in 2012, I was channeling Christ, and Christ said, Elizabeth, I need you to go into the darkness. And I thought maybe an impoverished country or something. Sure, no problem. But no, he meant, I need you to go into the darkness and pull out whatever doesn't belong in somebody who's holding on. A lot of times it's just an emotion, a really negative emotion. But it's interesting. The non-physical world is full of all kinds of interesting things at all different levels of consciousness. And we are either evolving in consciousness or we're de-evolving. And sometimes some de-evolved entities are holding on to you. If you're really, really angry, then you might attract an angry spirit, or even like a ghost. It just is drawing on your energy. So my job is, amongst many other things, to assist you in releasing anything that doesn't belong, whatever that is, whatever negative emotion or negative entity is attached to you. The angels come in and clear you. I'm channeling, and they're working to release you of anything.
And so what I see with people's dreams is the entities generally come in a time of severe trauma, like abuse, for instance, since we mentioned that before. And they come in and say, hey, I can help you. Do I have your permission to help you? And so they generally get invited in, and they hide. They don't want anybody to know they're there, but they need your energy to be low. So they keep you angry, they keep you ashamed, they keep you whatever it is that stops you raising your vibration, because they can't feed on you if you do that. But so what's interesting and why I send people to you, and it's not that common, I have to say, it's not that common, but I send people to you because you also help them heal from the trauma, that the wound that gave them the ability to get in there in the first place. And they never come back. It just never happens. Once you pull them out, they're gone. That's it, gone for good. And I've seen people, their whole philosophy of life just change, transform to extremely positive once you do this for them. So it's quite stunning. And we are definitely close to the wire now, time-wise. So what else do I want to say? Bringing it back to dreams, you look at your dreams and you help other people with dreams.
Yes, I always involve dreams. Dreams are a part of the conversation. I shouldn't say always, but a lot of people mention their dreams, and I'm thrilled to refer a lot of these dreams to you, Michael. And but I'll let them know how important the dreams are, and I'll listen to them, and I'll guide them on that front, and suggest that they talk to you. Dreams are so important, and they have become such a huge part of this work. It's like a diagnostic tool, so that's fantastic. I've always used it. Well, since I met you, I've used it as a diagnostic tool. The dream interpretation, the full immersion into spirit, all the trance channeling, the energy healing. What I've found is it's such deep work. It is healing of the soul. Even the personalities can change. So you can, if you're interested, I'm.
Yeah, you're putting on a special offer for people who are listening to the show, and you're giving 20% off your 90-minute channeled healing / reading. How do people get that?
It's at therosecottage.ca or therosecottage.ca, and it's on the tab Channeled Readings, and it's the 90-minute session that has the 20% discount.
And the coupon code to get that offer is DREAMER, DREAMER. Once you book the reading, anytime in the next 2 weeks, you'll get that discount once you apply that code. And the reading can be for 2 months away, but you have to book it in the next 2 weeks. I really appreciate you doing that. And there are so many things that we didn't cover. We didn't cover your book. Liz is an amazing person. I really encourage you to take up the offer of the 20% off on the 90-minute channel reading. You will not regret it. Thanks for being on the show, Liz.
Thank you, Michael.
See you all next week.